What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Brandon's Face. It's the podcast about a playlist. I'm Jonathan Beardsley.
And I am Brandon May.
We hope you're all doing well. We put out a special episode yesterday covering all of the Coachella set times and how we would navigate the festival if we were going. If you missed that, if you're interested, please go back and check that one out. But we're back today to talk about the new music. And I am pretty excited because we had a lot of bangers this week, and I've been dying to talk to you about some of these. So let's just dive right in, man. First one on the playlist this week is the new one from Chappell Roan, who is actually in the middle of her Coachella performance as we speak. This is her new song, Good Luck Babe, which oddly enough, I just saw her perform.
Yeah, she just played it.
Yeah, she's been teasing this one on social media for weeks now, and I actually think it lived up to the hype. She has the ability to make everything she releases feel instantly iconic to those who listen to her, and that's not easy. Her soaring vocals on this track are incredible. The hook is great, and I think it's a hell of a first step in the next chapter. What did you think about this one?
Yeah, man, this song is fantastic. So it was a great way to start the playlist.
I thought so.
And also most of my days this week.
Yeah, same.
She's about to blow up, dude. I think she's about to get real famous.
Yeah, she's been opening for Olivia Rodrigo on tour. I don't think that's hurting that either. She deserves it, man. She's incredibly fucking talented, and the notes she hits in this song alone kind of show you that the goods are there.
Yeah, no, this is definitely a good showcase for her vocals.
Next up, we got the new one from Lola Young, Big Brown Eyes. She's been on a crazy run since her last album dropped and just shows no signs of letting up. She still has not announced a new project, but Conceited, Wish You Were Dead, and now this track are all bangers and have kind of put her alongside like artists like Benny and Remy Wolf as just the best in modern alt pop right now, as far as I'm concerned. What did you think of this one?
I love the bass line on this song, bro.
So good, man. I love that they give it this whole song time too.
Right.
Like I think this is it's an alt pop song, but it's really just an indie rock song, and I think it flourishes as such.
I agree.
Those big fucking sexy brown eyes. All right, got a new one from Deb Never under the 1999 Write the Future umbrella. This one is called What You Want. It's more of her signature, like drowsy indie. It's been a while since we've heard anything from her though, so I thought it was really cool to get something. She seems like a good fit, like sound-wise, for a lot of what 88 Rising has been doing, and I would love to hear her work with more of their artists and producers. What'd you think of this one?
Yeah, in fact, I think you said it all. My notes say basically the same thing. We haven't heard from her. Good to hear from her. Glad that she did this. She killed it.
Yeah, could not agree more. New one from Omar Apollo, Spite. I didn't love the EP he put out last year, but this track pulled me right back in. It's kind of a grower too. I didn't think much about it after my first listen, but a day later I kept finding myself humming 50K spinning out of spite. So yeah, I think it hooked me somewhere along the line. What about you?
Yeah, man, the guitar work is great on this one. Omar sounds incredible, obviously. Yeah. The lyrics are great. Basically everything about this song is great, man. This is really good stuff.
Yeah, I think he went to Mexico recently too, and like some of the just like scenes of him getting out of cars there. The guy's a proper celebrity in certain parts of the world right now.
That's amazing.
Good for him, man. All right, new one from the Marias. This is more of a Latin track. I do not know how to say the name of the song, so I won't try, but I think the song itself is fantastic. And if we could just like fast forward time to whenever this new album is out, that would be fucking great. What did you think of this one?
Yeah, the Marias slow it down a little bit for this one, but I love it when they get moody like this, you know?
I do as well, man. I actually haven't looked up like the lyrical translation to this one yet, but I kind of need to.
Yeah, I'm sure it's good.
With what we know about the background of this album now, I'm sure that there's some gems to be discovered. All right. So, new one from Khalid, Please Don't Fall in Love with Me. Still not sure how I feel about this one, but I do love hearing him release new music again. I think it's fucking crazy for an artist with over 50 million monthly listeners who's like 45 in the world still, in the prime of their career, has not dropped a proper album since 2019, with the exception of an R&B mixtape in 2021 that I think only you and I listened to. Like, I've seriously never heard another person talk about that mixtape, which blows my mind because it's amazing.
It's really, it was really good.
He has not dropped a proper album since 2019's Free Spirit. He's not just due, he is past due. And I'm not sure if this is the start of the next chapter or just another single to exist in the space between. I'm hoping for the former, but not really sure how I'm feeling about the song either way. What about you?
Look, man, the lyrics on this one are a little well, uninspired. And the chorus gets a little repetitive, but I liked this song. The instrumentals and Khalid's voice really carry it. And if you take the lyrics and you push them out of your mind while you're listening to it, it's a great background song. But that's not why we like Khalid. So I'm curious to see what his work holds for us in the future.
Yeah, I feel like something has gone on. Like there's going to be a label story 3 to 4 years from now when he goes
Right.
independent and tells us what went on in 2024. That's how I'm feeling. This is weird. This is weird. All right, let's move on. We got a new one from Kalani, After Hours. I know that the drum beat sample at the start of this song is from Move Your Body, but it just makes me think of Sean Paul whenever I turn it on, which in turn just makes me want to listen to Sean Paul. Once I finished listening to Sean Paul and turned this back on, I thought it was okay. Her voice, as always, sounds great. It's fucking Kalani, obviously, but the beat has not really grown on me. This is the start of a new rollout, though. I think this is indicative of how it'll sound, and I can see her doing some good work in this genre. This song itself just didn't do it for me. What about you?
That's fair. I think this track is a party.
Fair, man. I mean, I was kind of sour on her first single for her last album, Alter, and that's probably one of my favorite songs off that album now. So
There you go.
you live and learn.
This is true.
Our new one from Anderson Paak and Knowledge, aka No Worries. This one's called 86 Centra. I'm sure you were a little bummed as I was when you saw the runtime for this track, but
Yep.
it didn't make me enjoy it any less. Like
Right.
it's Pack flowing over a lo-fi knowledge beat, and I think it's great. We do have an actual release date for the new album finally.
Oh shit.
Let me see. June 7th, same with Charli XCX and Peggy Gao. The album Wylod will be released. What do you think of this track?
Pac just kills everything he's featured on, huh?
Yep, yeah, pretty much lately. He has been on just killing it mode.
Yeah, this is a great match of artists. Knowledge's production is fucking great. I was actually just announced that DJ Pee Wee, who is Anderson Paak, is actually one of the
Yes.
Doolab surprise guests tonight.
Not surprised at all.
Nope.
Um, oh man, there's gonna be some nose candy going around that tent.
Some nose
All
beers
right.
for everyone.
Nose beers for hey, beer me a nose beer. All right, so we got Empire of the Sun. Their new track Changes is out. What are your thoughts on it?
This is the first new Empire of the Sun track in a while. I think the bass line's pretty killer. The melody is very much them, and I'm not seeing much variation in this track than their previous music. And I honestly think that that's okay. They're pretty good at this. Let them cook. What'd you think?
So I didn't know it was their first track in a while, but I assumed that's the case. I also feel like I've been seeing their name pop up more in the past 6 months than I have in the last 10 years.
Right.
And at first I thought it could just be the algorithm, but I think them releasing new music is just putting them back on the radar. They still sound like Empire of the Sun. Think early 2010s festival vibes, feel good indie, sunshine, bubbles, avocado tacos,
Yeah.
things like that.
Yep.
Like
Yep. Yep.
I'm
Yep.
curious to see how other people respond to this in 2024, but I thought it was decent.
Yeah.
All right, new one from Local Natives. Alpharetta is the name of the song. Thoughts on it?
Local Natives has made the same song about 1,000 times. Try not to like it challenge. Impossible. They just hit the spot for me, bro. They just hit the spot for me, man. I'm assuming that you, like all other Local Native songs, this was okay for you.
Oh yeah, challenge accomplished for me. This was a snoozer for me, man. At least this week it was, which like you said, not new for me when it comes to Local Natives. I was going to ask if this track was for a new album, but I do think I saw confirmation that they do have a new one releasing rather soon, if I'm not. Yeah, next week, April 19th, they have a new
Oh
album
wow,
coming
that's
out.
that's real soon. Good for them.
Very soon. Very soon. And I kind of like that I'll probably be able to hear this one all in context when it drops.
Yeah.
All right, new one from Cage the Elephant, Good Time. I did not enjoy their last single. I thought this one was a little bit better. What about you?
Look, man, I've disagreed with you on the last single. I'm going to disagree with you on this one too. I
Please.
think this one's great. I
Oh, fair.
the riff on this one is great. Their use of silence and the lyrical content, I think, really make it for me. I know, it's funny, man. People they put out "Tell Me I'm Pretty" a while ago. People didn't like that one. People didn't like "Social Cues." I don't know what it is, bro. I fucking love all of their music. I don't think they've ever put out a bad record. So I'm very curious to hear the
You
new
know what
one,
it
and
is?
I'll go into it with an open mind. I'm not going to
I'm
automatically like it.
I'm gonna tell you what it is, Brandon. I'm gonna be honest, because that's what the people want.
Yeah.
Cage the Elephant is easy to hate right now. They're an easy target because they're like past their obvious prime in terms of popularity, but they're still so popular that they can be considered like commercial casual. So I do think you've always been so good at just not giving a fuck about any of that shit. You do not cave to peer pressure. I very much feel the pressure to still be cool at times. And I feel like if I say, yeah, I like that Cage the Elephant, I'm not cool for some reason. Uh,
I don't think that
I
that's true. I think you're honest, but I appreciate you, and we'll
I
see, man.
I hope there's not more like Nickelbacks. I don't think that that is a good way to go into like music mentality necessarily. Just a band is fun to hate because they're fun to hate.
Oh, have you
It does
not
come
heard?
back around though. Look at Creed now. Look at Creed in 2024. Look how many people are singing "Can You Take Me?" Like it comes back around, man. You can only hate it for so long till you admit it's kind of a
So,
banger.
so I'm not on the socials, but I have heard from people that Gen Z is taking back Nickelback, and I unironically think that Nickelback has a couple of bangers for sure. Animals, great song, but I think it's funny that you say that there shouldn't be any more Nickelback. Nickelback's not getting much hate anymore.
No, yeah, and you're right, dude. I remember this is so funny, dude. I don't remember if like the guy had instrumental versions or if he just found a more instrumental song. He's like, "Have you ever listened to Nickelback when they're not singing?" And I was like, "No." And he played me some shit, and I was like, "Okay,
It's
that
good
that
stuff.
kind of fucking shreds." Like, all right, um, yeah, all right. Delete all of that from the podcast. Last 3 minutes, please.
Nope.
All right. Next one up is from Better Lovers. This one's called The Flowering. I have been waiting for them to release some more new music. I sent you a track of theirs that they released in December, like out of context the
Yep.
other day, just 'cause I was like, I'm thinking about this band right now, man. Yeah, new track is here, and to the surprise of nobody, it rips in every way imaginable. What do you think of this one?
Better Lovers forever. This band absolutely fucks. I cannot get enough every single time I hear them. This is my song of the week, John.
Yes.
I fucking love it, bro. When I needed a boost of energy, fuck a nose beer. Throw no, throw a Better Lovers song on and let's go.
You know what? Since we have not come to it yet, I want to know if you can just guess what my song of the week is without even thinking about it right now.
It's most
Because
definitely Knocked Loose, isn't it?
no, but thank you for
Oh,
saying that because that is our next track, and I do fucking love that song. It's coming up though. So,
okay.
new one from Knocked Loose, Don't Reach for Me. The last single was an immediate banger for me. This one took a few listens to click, but once it did, man, could not stop listening to it. And I can't wait to hear just how this one fits into the album. What about you?
So they're breaking the metalcore, the unspoken metalcore code, which is subsequently get lighter and softer with every release. They're choosing to instead do the opposite of that and go like almost full deathcore on this one, man. Blast beats, down-tuned guitars,
Which is
crushing
your thing.
breakdowns. Oh, let's go.
Yes. Yeah, this one's shaping up. They're another group that is just blowing up more and more every day. I couldn't believe one, how much their tickets to see them live were, and two, how fast they sold out.
Yep. They are
Um,
they're probably the if you consider them a hardcore band, which many people do, they're probably the most popular right now.
it's probably what them and Lorna Shore in terms of like the extreme metal being that popular.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's them and Lorna Shore right now, and I think it depends on the scene that you ask, but the reality is that it's them.
Yeah, I think so too. All right, maybe in the alt metal scene we got like Bad Omens, Bring Me the Horizon, those types of groups. But on the extreme side, I will agree. All right, so we got a new one from Malignancy, Purity of Purpose. What are your thoughts on this one?
Out on Willowtip Records, this song is fucking madness, John. It is super technical. It's super heavy. It's disgusting. This is right up my alley, bro. Did it
Dude, yeah,
scare
I
you?
liked it. Did it scare me? No, I liked it a lot. Something I've always loved, and this has gone back to, I can identify it as early as like Winds of Plague and Norma Jean. I love it when death metal incorporates southern metal riffs. And
Yup.
like over the last minute of this one, just like that fucking southern riff just shredding through it, did it for me, man. Loved it.
Nice. I'm glad you like this one a lot.
Yeah, man. All right, man. Moving into the EDM realm of things, we got a new one from Boris Brejcha, Terminal Zero. What are your thoughts on it?
His output rate may have fallen a little bit, but I'll say that the quality is right here, bro. Hasn't budged a bit. God, the bass, his bass synths are out of this world, bro.
Guess what, Brandon?
It's your song of the week.
No, this is what he is dropping an album next week. That has been the delay.
Yeah.
Full-length album, Boris Brejcha. Level 1 is the name of the album, which he's already released the title track for, I think, sometime last year. There's a few tracks on it we've heard. Still a handful we haven't. I'm very excited, though.
Oh, I'm very excited, too.
We needed that. All right, new one from Oakenfold and Cox called Concrete. I thought this one it's great, but like it also feels like a random song you download off of LimeWire in the late 90s because you saw the artist names in the title, but you're never really sure if it's an actual song of theirs. I know that this is a real song by Paul Oakenfold and Carl Cox, but it still feels like it's not even real. It's great.
I know. You know I threw this one on blind too, right? Like I saw the names and I was like, like that one's going on. Legendary DJs and producers collaborating together. Most definitely my game here, man. It slaps. I don't think there was any doubt. I didn't need to listen to it to write this review. That's how good their names are. You know what I mean? I did listen to it and it is a banger, but I didn't have to.
Yes. No, you almost never need to again. All right, new one from PVD and Sue McClare. This one's called Love Is Enough. I don't think it's the best we've heard from PVD lately, but it's still got some of those classic PVD moments in it. Were you a fan?
Yeah, actually, I think it isn't. It's off the beaten trail for Mr. Van Dyke. That intro with the violins and like the orchestral elements is something that he doesn't incorporate a lot, but I think he does it really well on this track.
I feel like we were thrown off by his last single. It could have been last week. So maybe this is just a slightly different direction that he's going for this year. Not bad though.
Nice.
All right, new one from Vintage Culture, Nothing Ever Changes. I thought this one was a little subdued for a single, but I do think it's going to fit nicely into the album, which drops next month, finally. What were your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I actually think he killed it on this one, John. I have not been liking his productions or DJ sets as of late, but I actually think that this was a combo breaker for me. I liked this one a lot. I went back to it quite a bit, and I remember thinking to myself, like the third or fourth time I listened to it, like, man, this is why I love Vintage Culture.
You just said combo breaker. That's why I love you, Brandon. Yeah, I'm the same way though, dude. I feel like everything we covered on the podcast of his, single or remix or otherwise, we loved, and then he announced the album, and he went through this string of singles where we were like, eh? And then
Right.
he's back. That last one from January week with Maverick Sabre, fucking banger. This one's pretty good too.
Yeah.
I am excited. All right,
see.
last single this week is from London Grammar. The song is called House. Thought this one was pretty good. It feels, I don't know, it feels more like a down-tempo drum and bass version of Last Lanes or something. And as always with London Grammar, the vocals just sound great. It's a good track all around though. What were your thoughts on it?
Oh, yeah, man. A little bit of breaks, some fancy percussion. Just elevates this track, dude. I'm a big fan.
All right, we got a couple EPs this week. First one from Charli XCX, Club Classics and Back to Back. This is not really an EP. It's just two new Charli XCX singles. And I thought they worked really well together, almost like an EP, so I threw them on here. She played Club Classics, I think, to open up her Boiler Room set, and I was immediately excited for its release. Happy to hear it live up to the hype on streaming. That is, in fact, my song of the week, Brandon.
There it is.
But Back to Back was not far behind. I think all three tracks she's released for this album have been bangers, and I think we're in store for something special June 7th. What about you? Were you
Me
a fan
too,
of these?
man. Yeah, actually, I think Charlie going a little bit more house and a little less hyper pop is something I am 100% here for. I think
Did you
both.
watch The Boiler Room?
I did not.
Let's throw that in the show notes. It is
I will.
there's some weird shit. There's a Julia Fox performance somewhere in the middle there. So she ends up having AG Cook spin for like 15, 20 minutes.
Oh,
She
neat.
has her fiance George Daniel play for a while. He was also in the 1975 and like produces a lot of her stuff. And then this guy Easy Fun, who I'm not sure if we've covered,
I don't
he
think
ends
so.
up doing like the last few, but she mans the tables for like the first 15 or so. It's a
Nice.
really fun set though. Like really, really fun.
Oh, it's. I mean, it sounds like it's fun. Yeah, we'll definitely throw that to the show notes.
All right. K-pop release of the week here. We got one from Kiss of Life. This is their two new songs, Midas Touch and Nothing. So as somebody that grew up in the late 90s, early 2000s like me, when you heard Midas Touch, were you like, they're just copying Britney's whole flow, word for word, bar for bar. Like, because
Yeah.
that it's pretty derivative,
It-
even though it is really
yeah.
good.
Yeah, it's a little derivative, man. I think both of these tracks are good, man. Real poppy, great melodies. What's not to like?
What do you think about the little hip hop parts worked in? Could you do without that, or do you think it adds like spice to it?
I it's one of those things, man. I don't think it was done well enough to add to it or elevate it, but I think
Yeah.
that if it were done better, it might.
Yeah, it's hard to do it. Like it's hard to strike a balance in terms of this type of music between fun and well written. Like I think Caroline Polachek does it on Welcome to My Island with her kind of like spoken word part, but it's not easy to do. The production and the vocal performances on both of these are great, even if they're a little derivative. All
Yep.
right, new EP from Wilt. It's a self-titled one. What'd you think of this one?
I think we've covered a handful of their tracks. I'm glad to
I
see them
think
all
so.
compiled here, man. They've got like a good fuzz to them and a lot of punky, a lot of poppy kind of Olivia Rodrigo energy happening here, and I enjoyed them.
Yeah.
I enjoy all of their music that I've heard so far. I think I would love to hear a little bit more. I don't know what it's missing, man. Edge, a little bit more rawness, but other than that, I think all of these songs are good.
I agree, dude. You know, if you add an indie band with a girl singer, there's like an 80% chance you're gonna like it. So big surprise. I like this EP. I can't wait to hear where they go from here, man. I haven't looked up any videos or anything like that yet, but I would wager they're a pretty good live band as well.
Right.
All right, we got an EP from Stars Hollow. It's called In the Flower Bed. We were kind of manifesting this one last time they dropped a
Yep.
single. What do you think of it?
Angsty emo is my fucking jam, and I think this hit the spot for me this week,
Always
man.
has been.
Love the raw
Yep.
recording sound. I think they knocked it out of the park, man. Twinkly riffs, varied yell scream vocals, great melodies. It's an emo banger, bro.
Yeah, it's an absolute gem of an EP. It only confirms what we assumed when we heard the singles and that they are going to be a band to watch.
Yep,
That much is true. All right, are you ready to talk about a few albums?
I am.
Okay, let's kick things off by talking about the new J. Cole album, Might Delete Later. I hope you don't mind if I go first on this
Please,
one,
please,
man.
please, please.
I have some things to say about it. So, I think to properly review this album, you almost need to separate it from the Kendrick diss at the end, right? But it's really hard to do when the hypocrisy of that track points out so much about what's wrong with the album it's on. I'm a fan of both guys. Both are obviously first ballot Hall of Fame level guys in the genre. Neither of them are at their best anymore, but the back and forth seemed to ignite the rap blogs while it lasted. Kendrick famously dropped what I would describe as a good verse in a bad song last month, taking shots at both Drake and, I guess, transactionally Cole, who was kind of just a casualty. I'm not really into the Metro production, the future verse. I think that almost puts me to sleep every time I try and listen to like that. But the J. Cole diss is even worse, man. It's a fucking FIFA '08 beat that it starts with. The Conductor Williams beat that it moves into in the second half is better, but probably should have been the beat for the whole track to begin with. It's still pretty weak as far as Conductor Williams beats go. right away, it sounds like Cole does not even want to be doing this. He's complimenting him as much as he's trying to send warning shots, calling his album a classic, admitting to trailing behind him in the latter 20 parts of the 2010s. He boldly asserts that he's now in his prime, which is a statement I very much disagree with. Takes shots at To Pimp a Butterfly, one of the most acclaimed albums in the history of music, for being boring, while ignoring the fact that he tried to do his own version of it shortly after with For Your Eyes Only and failing miserably. He called Mr. Morale tragic, which is fair. Kodak Black, the use of the F slur on Anti Diaries and everything about We Cry Together was also a miss for me. But Cole's last two albums are KOD in the off season. Two albums I'd probably be fine never hearing a track off of ever again. At least Mr. Morale had N95, Rich Spirit, Count Me Out, etc. on it. Cole's last albums were equally as tragic. The question is, would this album, Might Delete Later, be any better? And the answer is no. It essentially is just a bunch of songs thrown together with no concept or theme to tie them together, no sequencing to make the project feel cohesive. And over the course of this album, he hits us with Rick and Morty bars, alphabet bars, Looney Tunes samples, transphobic bars in 2024, if you can believe it, which is egregious enough, but is made much worse with all the faux intellectual shit that he's always preaching. Like, this is the same guy that lost a fucking battle to No Name in 2020 when he admitted he didn't read books. I didn't dislike this whole album. I thought Crocodile Tears and Ready were both pretty good. I enjoyed the back and forth between Daylight and Absol before the horribly offensive trans bar on that. But this is just another forgettable album in his discography, as evidenced by the fucking name of it. He's been teasing the fallout for 5 years now. If that album is anything short of an instant classic, which after hearing his last few albums, I highly doubt it is, then it's probably time to officially write him off as washed. This is like a, I don't know. I'm going to give a wider range. I'm going to say it's between a 3 and a 5 for me. My standout is Crocodile Tears. We should also note that 2 days after its release, Cole was the headliner of his own Dreamville festival and ended up apologizing to Kendrick, calling his own diss the corniest thing he's ever done. He was never built for this. He shouldn't have responded to a stray shot in the first place. Just because he apologized to Kendrick does not mean the battle is over, though. So I hope that helps him. Man, I'm sorry if I rambled, but this one has just been pissing me off all week, and I needed to talk about it. What are your thoughts on it? Please hit me.
Number one, Jon, please never, ever, ever again apologize for rambling, because when you ramble, we can get into it. All right. And then one more thing. He said that his apology was the corniest thing he's ever done. That is most definitely debatable. So leading right into my review, which is this comes as a surprise to no one. J. Cole is fucking corny. That's never really stopped me from listening to him, though. I think I am forever a hot take guy. For Your Eyes Only is my favorite Cole album. And I think that
you're a fold and close guy.
I am, man. I think when he's in his zone, he's in his zone. And if the writing is good, he's going to deliver it well. I think he does that more than a couple of times on this. But I do think he fumbled about, 90% of the time here. This album feels like a surprise drop insofar as it feels rushed and pushed through. And I can't imagine that's a coincidence with Kendrick's stray diss and the fact that he had to apologize about his rebuttal in order to save a little face, which only didn't do that. I think every track needed some better writing and some more time in the oven. Long gone are the days where we have an introspective Cole dropping like actual introspective bars, or like on even like Forest Hills, great album, bro. And I think I think he has like a little bit of gas in the tank, and I really think he does have another good album in him, man. This one could have been it, but it's not. For the record, I hope he doesn't delete this, because I really hope that the backlash should spark something creatively for him. The production on this album is good, I think. Beats are pretty good to great, and I just wish that he decided to prove why he was one of the, quote, big three, rather than just tell us that he is. It's most definitely a 4. My standout is whatever song the A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, E, I, O, U, where's the L bar came from. So
yeah.
that song, that's my standout.
Do you think like Punch and Schoolboy just like slapped Absol on the back of the head and they're like, "Get your bitch ass back over here. What the fuck are you doing over there?
Right?
The fuck are you doing, man?"
Yeah.
Yeah. During the apology, he said he was really proud of this album, which is another fucking lie, man. This is a mixtape at best and a forgettable one at that. We can move on.
Let's move
All
on.
right. New one from Bryson Tiller. This is his self-titled album. And despite the 4 year gap, this album feels like it came out pretty suddenly. At least to me, it does. He's been doing interviews and talking about how he'd kind of been letting the critics and doubt prevent him from dropping as much stuff as he wanted to or could have over the years. I think that the Tiller Tuesdays series he's been doing on SoundCloud earlier this year was a good start for him overcoming that, putting out songs that he probably should have a long time ago that might not fit into this new record that he's doing now. It's nice that the Pot of Gold at the end of that rainbow was a proper new album as well. I'll be honest, I don't hear a ton of growth musically from him on this. It still sounds like the same old Bryson. We kind of knew that from the singles. I don't even think that's a bad thing, though. I think his fans know not all of his albums are going to hit, but we'd rather have him active than not. This one is not my favorite album of his by a long shot, but it does have a few gems on it. I think it's at least in the low six territory for me. My standouts are kind of the bookends. I think it opens really well with Attention, and I think it closes incredibly well with Whatever She Wants. What did you end up thinking of this new Bryson album?
So, John, when artists release self-titled albums as fifth studio albums, I tend to expect a lot. And I actually think that Bryson Tiller really delivered on it, man. There's not a lot of risks taken, as he has this formula that like really works for him, and he's clearly shown that he's very good at what he does. His voice sounds great, whether singing or rapping, which he does quite a bit of on this record. The main
Yeah.
star on this album, though, man, is the production. Every track feels meticulous, feels purposeful. None of these beats were wasted, and with his range of voice and technical ability to rap, he really got everything right on this one, dude. I was expecting a lot, and I got an album that played well throughout the week for me, man. This is a 7 for me. I liked it.
Fuck
Persuasion, I
yeah.
think, is my standout.
Good song. Good
Yeah,
song. Waterfall's pretty underrated one too.
agreed.
I am gonna say there's only one thing I hated about this album, and that is the artwork choice.
Yeah, it's terrible.
I don't like the little GTA font in the bottom right. I love like dystopian Blade Runner type, approaches to things, but this feels like the guy watched not even the director's cut, just the cinematic release, which is a fucking mess of Blade Runner once, and was like, I got an aesthetic for my album.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the only thing that I'm gonna say I don't like about this one, but happy for Bryson to be back.
Yeah.
All right, man, let's talk about this new young Miko album. I don't know if it's ATT or Attention. She also just performed at Coachella like 2 hours ago. The first few times I listened to this album, it didn't really hit me. I think it felt directionless, like a kind of a meandering Latin bedroom pop album that I just couldn't get my head around. But the more I listened to it, the more I ended up liking it. I still wouldn't quite say I love it as of now, but there's some songs on here that are definitely going to be in my rotation for a while. Of the new tracks that we got, Princess Peach and Pinot Grigio, both phenomenal. Of the tracks we'd heard already, Wiggy and ID still sound great. And the way she's just locked in on a sound and aesthetic for this project really brought it all together for me, even when it wasn't delivering on like a this single is great type level. It's not an instant classic for me, but I do think there are moments on here that show she's more than capable of making one. I'm going to give this one a 7 for now. My standouts are Wiggy and Princess Peach. What did you think of this one? Did you enjoy it?
I didn't not enjoy it. Most of this album isn't for me, John. Not that anything young Miko does, like, she doesn't do anything wrong per se. It's just more so it's not something that I really enjoyed listening to. It's not bad. It's just not something I found myself gravitating towards. I think the production and the beat selection was great. I think her voice is great. But I also think that this style has been kind of done to death. And in order to stand out in a space like this, there needs to be something like differentiating. For what it is, though, I do think it's good. I like you said. I mean, when I had this one on in the background, it really it fit whatever activity I was doing. But and I didn't like actively want to turn it off, but I didn't also actively really want it on. So it's
I
middle of the road for
yeah.
me. It's a 5 out of 10. ID, that baseline is unfuckwithable.
I totally get what you're saying, man. Her last album was in 2022. We didn't cover it, but it was called Trap Kitty, and it was more of that trap Latin. This one doesn't just have like a lo-fi aesthetic to it. A lot of the production is rooted in lo-fi Latin
Right.
pop, and I do think that that change, yeah, is probably not as exciting. I think where she flourishes, like she did on that Bizarre Rap track back in January that we covered, like she flourishes on fucking bangers, and there's just not a lot of fucking bangers on this album.
Yep.
She does get to showcase that she can sing as well, but I don't think she's quite at singing, great at singing as she is at like just rapping over some bass.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, man. It's time for the new Khruangbin album, Allah Salah. Give me your thoughts.
This is a Khruangbin album. That's my review. That's it. I'm just
Thank you.
kidding.
All right, let's move.
No, man. I think these guys are great at what they do. They're all incredibly talented musicians. I hear them like everywhere, I feel like now. But it's like so easy to have this blend into the background of whatever I'm doing. It's versatile music. I think it can get really repetitive and a little like too chill. But I like it for what it is, man. Crew is really just this band. They do this and they do it really well. And I think they're forever going to get sevens from me unless there's something really special about it. So call it a 7 for me. 3 from 2 is my standout, although that could be any other song on the album.
Yeah, we'll pencil you in for sevens for the rest of their discography, no problem.
Basically.
Yeah, I think consistency is good, even if it's a little bit boring at times. This is very obviously a pleasant album. I never found it to be engaging, which is not surprising for Khruangbin. Their music can easily be described as background or elevator, even if it's of a higher quality than that. This album does not change that perspective. It's more of the same. I'm not mad at it, even if it didn't blow me away. A lot of my enjoyment of this album came down to time and place. Throwing this on it at the wrong time could slow me down a little bit too much when I needed some juice. But on the flip side, throwing a track like 11 International on after a long day was a really nice way to unwind too, you know?
For
It's
sure.
an album where you just have to enjoy whatever it is you can about it. I'm gonna give it a 6, man. My standout is 11 International.
Great song.
Okay, man. Give me your thoughts on this new Vampire Weekend album, Only God Was Above Us.
Can I please?
Please.
Like most Vampire Weekends albums, this album is fucking beautiful, man. At one point in my life, I was listening to them quite a bit and music like them quite a bit. By that, I mean honest and endearing indie rock with elements of other genres while simultaneously being like a little cheesy, but like self-aware that you're cheesy. It's like a specific feeling, and I think that Vampire Weekend does like a really good job of generating that feeling in their listeners. The pianos, the violins, the jazzy parts, the horns, the brass, everything feels so incredibly alive on this record, man. Part of that is due to the obvious talent that the band members and whatever guest instrumentalists they had record for them, but some of the credit I think has to go for to the mixing on this album. This album is mixed near perfectly, at least to my ears. I have listened to this album every day over this last week, and I find myself noticing like little moments, little flourishes on it that I missed the last 5 or 6 times I listened to it. I just adore this, man. It's the perfect length for engagement. It's like 47 minutes. Everything about it engaged me the whole time. It feels like a modern classic to me at this point, man. All the little details, the bass lines, the vocal inflections, the writing and lyrical content. It all just hit me like a ton of bricks, man. I'll end this review with a quote from one of my favorites on the album. The temple's gone, but still a single column stands today. That sinking feeling fades, but never really goes away. A staircase up to nothingness inside your DNA. Well, that's a bleak sunrise. 9 out of 10. Stand out as classical.
I think I'm just gonna have you read the lyrics to the album to me more than I want to listen to the album.
Go ahead.
You gave it a 9 out of 10. What was your standout?
Classical, man. The horns, the
All right.
melodies, the vocals, the lyrics all make this track just a fucking indie rock banger.
I had a feeling you were going to love this one. So before I even got to listen to this, I saw everyone online raving about how great it was. I tried not to let that play into my personal feelings going into the album, but the level of hype that I saw for it definitely got me excited. I've never been super into Vampire Weekend, but I've never been opposed to them either. They were always a passive listen for me, and I thought they were decent that way. I still do. And maybe that's what I'm not particularly loving about the album is the way I listen to music. Me having to actively listen to this for a proper review made me appreciate their musicianship a lot more, but it did not make me really like their music any more than I already did, which is fine. But it put me in the difficult position of trying to say, I like this album a normal amount without sounding like I'm underappreciating it. There's
Pretentious
moments on
asshole.
this, thank you. There's moments on this that I really fuck with, dude. The middle section of Connect with the fucking keys just cascading
Yeah.
everywhere. I mean, that's my standout. That song blew me the fuck away the first time I heard it. But there's songs on here like Mary Boone where I just cannot see myself in a headspace to enjoy that. I still think the album is overall good, even if it didn't quite live up to the hype I saw for it. I have it like a low 7 for me, which is not bad. My standout is Connect.
No,
But
that's
yeah,
good, bro.
I am glad you enjoyed it as much as everybody else seems to be. Hopefully, I am a cool kid one day too, just like the rest of you.
I didn't I saw like I saw that they had released, and I think I saw a couple comments on Reddit, and then I very quickly click out of those threads because I get sucked into it, which is why we do this podcast, because I love opinions on music. And I had a feeling that it was going to be positively viewed, but I think most of their music is. So I don't think that that surprised me too much, and I try
Yeah,
to avoid reviews and discussion boards until I have a chance to listen to it and generate my own opinion. So I understand that hype trains can ruin things, because like,
for sure.
and I'll even float this one to you, bro. Jack U. Every time a Jack U song comes on nowadays, I'm like, oh, this is good, and then I'm like, oh wait, this is Jack U. I hated them for a minute because everyone was hyping them up, and so I get it, bro. I totally understand, but I hope that maybe you're in like a weird indie mood one day, and you throw like can headphones on and are like, let me give this another shot. Maybe it'll click with you a little more.
The first time I heard the new Abnormal by The Strokes, I was like, meh, that is literally one of my favorite albums of the last
I
10 years
know.
at this point. So, I mean, all things are possible, and this seems to have the potential for that, but we'll see.
Yep.
I will update you for sure.
Please, please, please.
All right. Well, if only I talked to you every week, Brandon. All right. We got a new album from Bayside. Finally, there are worse things than being alive. They're one of the few bands that could arguably be considered better now than they were when they were at their peak of popularity. We've heard a few of these tracks as singles or on EPs over the past few years, but every time they put something out, it was just a reminder of how great they are, or still are, I guess. I'm glad that they finally packaged the best tracks of those last few EPs together with a few new ones to give us, I think, one of their best albums to date. I went into this expecting it to be pretty good, and it still surpassed my expectations for it. I have it between a 7 and an 8. So hard to pick a fucking standout on this one, man. I think The Devils and Castaway are my standouts, but
Okay.
How to Ruin Everything, Bad Intentions, I'm a big fan of this one, man. What'd you think of it?
I think when I saw that Bayside had released a new album, I was like, new Bayside. But it's not all new Bayside, and I think that kind of played into how I viewed it,
Fair.
because
Yeah.
the songs that we've heard on the EPs over the last couple of years just kind of like, okay, it just kind of ruined a little bit of the cohesiveness of a full project for me. That being said, though, it is a great Bayside album. Sick riffs, very drumming from hardcore to pop punk, passionate vocals, and in general, really well written songs. A couple of cheesy lyrical content, but hey, that's pop punk for you.
Sure.
I enjoyed this album like I thought I would, and that's all that really matters. It's a solid 7 for me. Standout, I think I'm gonna go with Bad Intentions, bro.
Yeah. Really, really good song. I totally get that. I think modern album rollout practices are a whole separate issue, but I do agree with you. All right, let's wrap this week up with this new album from Rinzen, Bend to the Light. How are you feeling about it?
All right, man. We are used to deep bass lines coupled with melodies from Rinzen, but I think on this album he really outdid himself, man. Besides like a couple of singles and a remix album for one of his tracks, we get his first full-length album. Couple that with the fact that it's being released on This Never Happened. This is a match made in house heaven, bro. Deep, moody, melodic, and just wonderfully progressive. I think this whole album just shines a light on some of the best house music I've heard this year. There's even some like non 4/4 beats. I think Planets Passing Overhead is one of them, and look, it's subdued, but it's engaging nonetheless. I'm a huge fan of everything about this album, man. I came back to it quite a bit this week, and I'm sure I'll be coming back to it throughout the year. Like, just like moments like that Bodzen level bass line on Astronauta is just fucking sublime. Terraforming is fucking neat. That Deja Vu track is really fucking neat. I really liked this one. 8 out of 10, man. Astronauta fucking sent me, though.
Oh yeah, yeah. Of course it fucking did. Yeah, this whole record, the whole vibe of it is really hard not to like, man. It's a classic This Never Happened release with a little mousetrap in its DNA.
Yep.
It's well placed. It's just got this like dynamic range when it comes to production styles within the genre. There's some trance, some house, but it's all tied together by Rinzen's trademark spacey feel. He furthers the space aesthetic more on this album with tracks like Astronauta and Planets Passing Overhead, but it never feels too on the nose when you're actually listening to it. Bend of the Light feels like the most fleshed out from a vocal perspective and almost feels out of place on the album despite being the title track. But I think he works by making it feel like the finale of the album and going into the closer, I Want to Be Right immediately after it. This one's also a solid 7 for me, man. My standout, of course, is Astronauta. That song fucking
Just
rules.
a fucking banger, man.
All right, that does it for us this week. We will be back again next week. We got new releases coming out this week from Belmont, Girl in Red, Nia Archives, much, much more. Follow along with the playlist that the podcast is based on so you can keep up with what we'll be talking about next week. It's updated every Friday or Saturday. We try our best. You can find us on Instagram and Reddit. Just search Brandon's Face Pod. Until next time, peace.
Peace.